35% of the people in Montgomery County stayed at home in the last election. And so you're talking about 110,000 people that were registered voters but decided to stay at home. So we don't want to see that ever happen again, especially when we know that an election that was so important as the last election, we needed people to respond to that, to respond to voter suppression and things like that. And so we just want to make sure that voter turnout gets a lot better than what it used to be. This event was to focus on making sure that we are registered voters. We want to make sure that everyone that was a registered voter, that they had valid signatures and valid registrations.
The city of Dayton's voting percentage is only 19%. 19%. So if you look at our current population is give or take estimated 140,000. 140,000 in our estimated population. 19% of that only equates to 26,600 individuals in the city of Dayton who actively participate in the political process. That's appalling. It's embarrassing. We have come too far not to engage in the political process. So I respectfully ask that each and every one of you vote this November. Whatever way you may vote, let's become educated, inclined, empowered voters. Thank you.
All right, so thinking about the political process, it kind of made me think about boxing in the way that when we watch the boxing movies, there are certain things that stand out to me. One, that the boxer has to be physically and mentally prepared to go into the ring to fight. He has to condition his body, he has to be prepared, he has to know his opponent and what kind of punches and what is his stance and what kind of things his opponent would do so he's able to overtake him. Another thing that a good boxer does is he has to be able to condition himself, condition his body so that he has the stamina to go the 12 rounds in the ring. Another thing that a boxer has to do is they have to be able to condition and make weight. If you don't make weight, then you can't box in the class that you're trying to seek. So all of those things are preliminary things that have to happen before a boxer can even step foot in the ring to challenge his opponent. And I look at the political process the same way. When we were trying to get on the ballot, there are certain preliminary things that Carlos was trying to tell us and teach us that we needed to do before we can even put our candidate in the ring as an opponent for the current mayor. There were certain things that we had to do before we were even able to engage in a political fight. And I look at it the same way, that if you don't know the basics, if you don't train, if you don't know the proper way to get petitions signed, if you don't know the proper way to ask people the right questions to make sure that they can sign your petition, if you have the most charismatic candidate, you can have someone who was born and raised in the city of Dayton. He's able to relate to the people. He's influential in the community. He's about building up the infrastructure of the city. He's about economic development. He can have all those, he or she can have all of those things going for them. But if they can't even step foot in the ring by getting those petitions signed and validated and turned into the Board of Elections, they can't even get into the fight.
It is very crucial to make sure that we emphasize how important it is to make sure that the information on your voter registration card is correct, because we would not have got that turnout in Cuyahoga County without making sure that those folks were actually registered at the proper locations that they needed to be registered at. So I just wanted to emphasize how important what you're doing now is and how it helps families like ours get the turnouts that we need when prosecutors like Timothy McGinty sit in the counties that don't represent us. In Cleveland, we organized. We went to city council meetings. We got in their face. We made them uncomfortable. You have to make them as uncomfortable as they are making you live. And that's the key. Take the message to city council, take the message to your Senate, your senators, your state representatives. We went all the way to, Samaria went to Washington several times. So it is very necessary to make sure that folks are listening and you continue to do voter registration. We did it for almost a year and a half continuously. It's tiresome, but we organize not only through ourselves, but through other organizations that are also helping throughout the community. So it helps to gather folks that are working around the same issues that you're working on. and have those conversations at the table. Like, if you guys are working around voter registration, this is what we're doing around voter registrations, and bring those things to the table, and that's how you galvanize more folks around those issues. And that's what we did in 2016, and that's how we were able to unseat our prosecutor.
Working with many activists, such as Black Lives Matter Cleveland, was helpful for me in my process that McGinty must go. He did not represent my family like he told me to my face. He sabotaged my case, and it seems like he was more for the officers, like being a defense attorney for them, than he was for me. But also working with BLM Cleveland, allowing them to set up the voter registration, the voters check at certain events that I was at, and creating a petition to influence the community, which causes pressure to shame McGinty for no indictment for my son. That's why your vote counts. That's why your vote is very much important. It's very much needed. Please don't be discouraged. I know it can get discouraging sometimes. I feel like there's no hope, but when it comes to the state and the local vote, we do have the power.